Let's go straight over to Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Hi, Isabel.
Good evening.
Thanks to you, last night we broke a story that's now making the national press all the way across Fleet Street, as they used to call it. You brought us two videos from inside Britain's biggest asylum centre. This is Wethersfield, former Wethersfield Air Base, RAF Air Base in Essex, where currently we think 800 young men, male migrants, reside. Now, the videos you brought us prove that you know, we always wonder, what do these people do? What do they get up to? Well, if we play the videos, what we discovered is that we called it war and peace. So at one point you see these guys all dancing around, having one hell of a time. And then the next moment, there you go. This is the peace bit. So if you just turn the name of the book round, let's call it Peace and War, just for convenience sake. So here they are, they're having a good time, aren't they? You've got the pool tables, social area there. Look at that, it's great fun, isn't it? And dancing away, here we go, dancing, the music's playing. You know, and you just think, hang on a second, we're paying for all this. Look at this. What on earth is going on? Why are we paying for these people to come over here and live in this pretty nice place, have parties, play pool? Why are we paying for this? But it's not all fun and games because also tensions can rise, as you can imagine. We've got 800. Here we go. So now this sort of thing goes on. Bloody great punch up. This is over meal time. Look at this. Look at it. So again, you know, we're paying for all this. So we put these 800 young men. The fashionable thing to say is of military age. I always sort of prefer to say of sexually active age because that seems to be relevant to me. They're usually between the age of about 17 and 34. 800 young men like this corralled into the same place in the middle of nowhere, frankly, in Essex. It is a recipe for, shall we say, turbulent times. Now, we played this last night. The papers have all picked up on it. But before we discuss some of the ramifications, especially for the local communities, reiterate your thoughts on what we've just been looking at.
Well, basically, they play and they punch and you pay. That's how it is. You know, these guys have come over supposedly fleeing war and terror, and there they are having a great time. And, you know, we were saying last night, you know, I don't think that they have to be sort of sitting around crying and weeping over, you know, their life stories. I'm not saying they can't have a good time, but I think what this does is cast a spotlight on what goes on behind closed doors, and that fun that they were having is only part of the story, because there's so many fights that break out. And it's hardly surprising, as you say, if you put together a bunch of, you know, testosterone fueled young men who've got nothing much to do, or really nothing to do. You know, in fact, you said, you used the phrase military age. I mean, in fact, if we were actually using them for some kind of military purposes and training them, they would be better occupied than just floating around causing trouble, floating around either within the premises, or what's really upsetting local towns is that they're being bussed to those town centres where they're also just hanging around, or presumably some, if they follow the pattern of most other migrant accommodations, they're also working on the black market. So I think this stuff just really winds people up. You know, those guys, in a sense, I don't envy their lives. I don't want to live in a migrant hotel, whether it's a 4-star hotel or, you know, a former RAF base, but they are living literally a life of leisure. That is exactly
funded by British taxpayers. Exactly right.
All paid for by you, the listener. Yeah. And, you know, it's just bonkers. The whole thing is completely insane.
And to add to the insanity, we contacted the Home Office yesterday to get their take on all of this. And incredibly, they said, oh, well, we think this dates back to the last government. This was when the last government was in charge. And I think it's weird the way the Home Office sees itself as kind of a supporter and a spokesperson outfit for the Labour government and not the Tory. This dates back to the Tories. You're supposed to be independent civil servants. Whether or not that's true, we don't know. But they went on to say, oh, the reason there are pool tables there and music and televisions and dance facilities is because to try to keep them in. The asylum centre, the former airbase, which is something that doesn't work, as we also discussed last night. There is a big local campaign called Stop the Buses, because these 800 guys every day are bussed into the neighbouring towns, which are mainly Braintree, Chelmsford and Colchester. So busloads of these young men are bussed into these towns, whereupon they stand around making a threatening atmosphere. Women and children are particularly sort of terrorised basically by all of this. And the local communities say, well, at the very least, can you stop bussing them in? So there's a Stop the Buses campaign, and we spoke, didn't we, last night, Isabel, to one of the leaders of this campaign. She lives in Braintree. Her name, she's got a daughter. She's got a 4-year-old and a 15-year-old daughter. She's very, very worried about them. Her name is Holly England, and here she is talking to us last night.
What we're trying to aim to do is to get a load of rape alarms together and start handing them out over in Chelmsford first. For the in the evenings, at weekends, to give them out to the girls, young girls, women, anyone that's out on the town, to try and hand them out to every single person that we can find. That is our aim. And then to try and get across Essex and hand out as many as we can to women.
So you're going to distribute rape alarms to as many women as possible because of this rising problem that you got in Braintree, Chelmsford and Colchester. How many of these buses come into Braintree every day?
Well, we sent someone down to get a video the other day, and I would say there was somewhere between 50 and 60 men there with 2 or 3 buses.
As we both said last night, Isabel, people shouldn't have to live like this. Holly England and her kids shouldn't have to live like this. Women are staying in. We had several calls, by the way, after you were on the show last night. Several calls from women who lived in Braintree and Chelmsford saying we don't go out at night anymore. We shouldn't have to live like this. This is ridiculous. And I want to just refer you to something. A story today would have annoyed you as much as it did me. This is the chairwoman of the Association of Police and Crime Commissioners. She gave a speech saying that British flags, particularly St George's crosses, have become tools of division and intimidation, a disturbing trend, demonising communities and so on and so forth. So she hates the flag, hates British flags, hates patriotic flags. But in this wide-ranging woke speech that this police commissioner woman, Emily Spurrell, made, she moved on to another area of life where she wanted to bestow her woke virtue. And she was talking about the migrant crisis, about the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood's new plans to overhaul the asylum seeker. She says, the asylum seeker system. She said, change must not come at the cost of compassion. I'm thinking, you're the police commissioner. What has this got to do with you anyway? But she went on to say, let's be clear. To couch anti-immigration rhetoric in the language of protecting women and girls is not only misleading, it is offensive. I wonder what Holly England and all the other women who don't go out at night in Braintree, Chelmsford and Colchester think about that. I think that to couch it in terms of the threat to women and children is highly relevant and highly worrying.
I wonder what the family of that poor young woman who was literally murdered by a completely psycho, nutty asylum seeker user of the hotel that this poor young woman was working at think to the idea that it's offensive and divisive to talk about the threat to women and children. I wonder what the 15-year-old girl, she's no longer 15, who was brutally sexually assaulted, the girl from Oxford, by an asylum seeker, thinks of that comment. I wonder what all the many victims of attacks, sexual attacks on women and girls in this country by illegal immigrants think of that sentiment. I don't know who this person is that you've just read the quote from, but I sure as hell know that they are not going to be an effective or popular police and crime commissioner if that is their attitude.
Well, exactly right, and this is the story. This is the story that's happening in communities across the land, all over the country, particularly in South Coast communities like Bournemouth, Southampton, Portsmouth, because coastal towns, you'll know this from your connection to Skegness, to Lincolnshire, have got obviously disproportionately large amounts of hotels compared with other towns because of being seaside resorts. So because they've got loads of hotels, they get loads of asylum seekers because those hotels become asylum seeker hotels. Bournemouth's got a serious problem. A woman really but seriously raped last week. We don't know for sure who did it, but an asylum seeker has been charged with the offence. And this is a story that is happening everywhere now. Whether or not you've actually had rapes or actually had sexual assaults by migrants, by asylum seekers, doesn't detract from the fact that women are worried about this. And Holly was telling us last night that you know, these guys bust into town, they sort of go and buy themselves bags of beer and stuff, sit around drinking, smoking, and just leering at women and wolf whistling them and making them feel uncomfortable. This is a story that is unfolding all over the country on a daily basis. This is the reality of our migrant crisis, of our asylum seeker crisis. And as I keep saying, I don't think any of us should have to live like this, but women should not have to live like this.
In my opinion, people who make comments like that kind of sanctimonious twaddle of trying to say that anyone who is highlighting this problem, anyone who is not prepared to just accept this, to just suck it up, those people that start crying racism, start crying offensive, start crying division, actually are partially responsible for what is happening, because they are creating an environment in which they are enabling this government to continue the system. They are allowing this government to continue letting the boats come across unfettered on the basis that it's compassionate to do so. There's nothing compassionate about allowing people to cross the channel, make that perilous journey, and then land in our communities with no jobs, no immediate or even long-term prospect of being contributors to our society, and then inflicting damage on local communities. That's no form of compassion that I recognise.
Couldn't agree with you more. Last point, I wanted to run this by you because it infuriated me, and I suspect you won't be too thrilled by it either. It's this, you know, Shabana Mahmood with her sort of, you know, quite encouraging proposals about reforming the asylum system. As I said earlier, the direction of travel is right, but if you don't leave the ECHR and if you don't tame your left-wing backbench MPs, I can't quite see any of it actually ever happening. But the thing that annoyed me the most about this saga was that these left-wing backbench MPs who are rebelling against Shabana Mahmood's reforms have warned the Labour top brass, Starmer, Mahmood, you know, the cabinet ministers, don't keep doing what the electorate want. That's what they said. Stop doing what the electorate wants.
Brilliant.
Just because the electorate wants it. I mean, that's Labour for you. Never mind the people. We're Labour MPs and we've got virtue to signal. It's pathetic, isn't it?
Well, it's also unbelievably patronising and just so self-aggrandising to think that they know better. I mean, this is exactly what happened, for example, with Brexit, isn't it? You know, oh, these little people, they don't know what's good for them. You know, now we're in the Palace of Westminster. We know what's good for people, and we know that it's so important to be compassionate and keep on having those boats coming over. Just outrageous, absolutely outrageous. And this is why those people will lose their seats. They will lose their seats if they take that attitude.
Yeah, this is symptomatic of these backbench rebels who are going to cause big problems for Mahmoud. She has two problems with these reforms. One, she'll struggle to get them through her left-wing backbenchers. It's in their DNA to sort of be kind and say open borders, let everybody in. So they won't like this crackdown. But this is the Stourbridge MP, Kat Eccles. She said, it just feels, she's talking about the cabinet and Shabana Mahmood. Listen to this. It just feels that they are trying to just be seen to be doing something just to appease the electorate. Can you believe that?
We don't really count. You know, in normal speak, you know, forget the electorate. We just have to tolerate whatever it is our politicians do to us. Yes, absolutely, they're trying to do something to appease the electorate, and so they jolly well should be.
Exactly right. It's called politics. It's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to please the people.
Servants of the people. That's what politicians are supposed to be.
Yeah, but these people, these Labour backbenchers, are just trying to please themselves and to show, aren't I great? Aren't I wonderful? Oh. I'm a caring, sharing person. Be kind. Yeah, well done. But as I say, Shabana Mahmood's heart is essentially kind of in the right place, but in the real world, she's not going to get any of this stuff.
Well, I think her head's in the right place, not her heart, probably. Yeah. I think the head is telling her she needs to do this.
Yeah, and you've got to leave the ECHR, as I keep saying. You don't leave the ECHR. Everything she's proposed, you can't bring your family over anymore. I'm appealing to the European Court of Human Rights. Oh, you can bring your family over. Everything she said will be undermined by the European Court of Human Rights. So leave that or forget it. We're stuck with this forever. Isabel, fantastic to talk to you as always.